In this video, I drive this crusty van. Crusty. Hubnut. Sponsored by Lancaster. This van belongs to my friend Jonathan of Peak 2CV, and he was given it. And I suppose if you're given it, you can't complain too much about the comprehensive body modifications. It's an interesting bonnet. It was clearly a Travis Perkins van at some point in its life. It is a 2002 by the look of it. That's fairly late for a C15. And I suppose I should start with the basics. It is a Citroen C15, and some people might recognise the Visa element here. The Secans was indeed a Visa van. It's a Visa with a big bumpy bit on the back. This being a later one, it has the DW8 diesel engine of 1868cc, not the older XUD, but it's got all mod cons, including opening windows, opening doors, some lights. It hasn't got power steering, hasn't really got much in the way of brakes, but nonetheless it's not an unattractive van. I quite like car-based vans that look like the car they're based on, and introduced in the early 80s, I think, the C15s. You could specify a single door. You could, in France, you could have ones with side windows and a seat in the back for a commercial aspect. Yeah, Citroen and Total, good friends. Peak 2CV for all your 2CV needs, as long as you live in Worksworth and surrounding areas. But yeah, I mean, it's not actually that bad. These things can and do rot horribly. And you see it's got a luxurious roof rack. So it still appears to have most of its sills. That's quite unusual. Got more glorious gaffer tape repairs going on here as well. Ooh, don't do that. So yeah, it needs some work, but yeah, it is what it is. Fairly ropey. Let's go and have a look inside. We'll start with the back, actually, because if I open up the back of the van, you see it's been ply lined, and still has wheel arches as well. Obviously they couldn't be bothered to paint it green inside as well. Covers the fuel tank and the filler. Smells a bit. Nice bulkhead. That concludes matters. Inside. First of all, I've got to demonstrate the door. That's a horrible noise, but nonetheless it does seem to shut. The sill is a bit crusty in places, but nonetheless there is a MOT until September. Nice 2-spoke steering wheel, and interesting use of gaffer tape here as well. Someone was getting their money's worth out of the roll, I think. John seems to have left his dressing gown in here. I'm not going to ask. Have a look at the glamorous dashboard. We're struggling a bit with the contrast because of the low winter sun. 114,000 miles. Same sort of column stalks you'd expect in a Citroen BX Mark II, which means no mist function. Very frustrating. The comprehensive switchgear includes both a rear fog light and hazard lights. And then there's the world of the heater controls, which are insane. We've got fan speed here, up and down, you know, where you want it over here. Apparently that one controls the volume of air coming in, temperature. And then there's another, I don't know what that one does. Who can say? It's interesting, it seems to have a graphic. Is that rear seat passengers? It doesn't have a rear seat. Interesting. Obviously we've got winding windows, combined door handle pull type things. We've got, oh, it even works. I think they were used in some BXs as well. And we've got vents and a 2CV wiper, which I had to use to clear the windscreen before I could drive off. So yeah, got a gearbox. The clutch is horrible, pretty much standard for right hand drive PSA stuff. I just don't think they could be bothered. The brake pedal has an awful lot of travel in it. Oh, it does pump up a bit though, so maybe that's where I'm going wrong. I'm just not pumping often enough. But you know, not I've got room to rest my clutch foot over there, so that's all right. You can do a bit of heel and toe, because obviously it's a racing vehicle. But I think what we need to do really is go for a drive. So, turn that off just so you can savour the clatter. We'll open the door. It's a proper diesel engine, that is. Do you want to peek under the bonnet? I imagine you do. I wonder how we achieved that. Where would the French put the bonnet pull? Wow. Is that it? Gosh, it's actually on the driver's side. I didn't expect that. This is going to require some care, I think. I may have to do this with both hands to stop pulling the bonnet apart. Hold on. There we go. Some interesting resonance going on in here. But that is your DW8, which has more electronic control by Lucas, it seems. Is that the throttle? Yeah, there you go. A bit crusty in places under here, but you can't complain for free. Let's go for a drive. That's about all the angle I can give you, I'm afraid, but we shall go for a drive. I haven't brought my microphone with me either, so I hope you can hear me over the clatter. There we go. Oh, yeah. I like 1980s and 90s Citroens, but the gear changes, all Peugeot's doing, are truly awful. Yeah, hair in the face. Give the brakes a shove, and yeah, not very much happens. They're almost as bad as the Morris Minor I drove yesterday. I can forgive the Morris Minor for having terrible brakes. I wonder if there are any, if there's any material left on the rear shoes. Oh wow! Oh, that was a Peregrine by the look of it. Yeah, stop. Here we go then. Power. Whoa! It actually has some. I'm going to say most of that was gravity, but yeah, quite perky. Mind you, the last one of these I drove had 12 people in it. Don't ask. That was an interesting encounter. On private land, obviously. But yeah, I mean, the steering isn't too bad. It's a bit heavy when you're not moving. It's one of those cars that encourages you to get moving before you try turning the wheel. But I mean, once you're on the move, it's fine, absolutely fine. It's not heavy at all at these speeds. Look at that, I can almost catch up a Land Rover. That's how much power we have. So the Visa that this is based on, a very successful car for Citroen, and arguably that's because of Peugeot, because Citroen was developing a small car and it went its own wacky way with torsion bar suspension and either the flat twin 2CV engine in slightly larger 652 form or a flat 4 engine from the GS. And Peugeot bought Citroen in 1975 and said no. They were not impressed. They wanted something more conventional, like their own Peugeot 104 perhaps, which had very conventional suspension, yet still very comfortable, very softly sprung. And so the design was refined into the Visa, which looked a bit the same as the original concept, but wasn't anywhere near as funky. The funny thing is, Citroen took their original design to Romania, where it became the Old Cit. and they built it there instead. Maybe Peugeot didn't notice. But yeah, it wasn't massively successful because it was really flimsy, and yeah, the Romanians didn't really know how to build them properly. They would have been better off with a conventional design. So it was the coming together of Peugeot and Citroen that made the Visa the success that it was. And yeah, I mean, all those hallmarks shine through here. We're doing 50 miles an hour. It's relatively quiet, a bit of noise humming from the back because it's a van. I can hear the roof rack howling a bit as well, but it's comfortable in terms of driving position and in terms of ride comfort. For free, this is remarkable. I'm just driving past Carsington Water, a very big reservoir. It's over there, so you can't see it, sorry. But we can try washing. Oh yeah, it's got wash. I notice it hasn't got the annoying spray bar of the Citroen VX, which in theory is a great idea, until it clogs up and then you spend your life chasing problems. It doesn't seem to wipe all that well, and of course being a single wiper, it doesn't wipe up here at all. But yeah, I can see that we have some fuel, and I can see it's just past 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There are no other gauges. There are warning lights, so presumably if it overheats, maybe there's a warning. I can't really see a temperature warning at all. Maybe the fact that there's steam coming out of the bonnet is your clue that it has overheated. Yeah, I'll put my foot down now at 50 mile an hour in 5th gear, and there we go, it's crept up to 55. Woo. Yeah, it's a different sort of an engine really. It doesn't so much accelerate as just gather pace. I mean, it's quite nippy in the lower gears, but that's a shame because that means changing gear, and that's just horrible. Well, this is a bit of alright. If you're interested in getting a C15, sun visor, I must say get a shift on, because survivors are getting incredibly rare. I think production stopped eventually in 2003 or 2004, so you do occasionally see a 54 plate C15, but even those are getting crusty now, so it really is a case of if you want one, get one now. And for the early 21st century, these must be one of the most simple vehicles you could buy in the UK. I mean, frankly, the Peroggio Nipper is feeling luxurious at this point. That has a rear wiper. Some C15s did have rear wipers, but only in France. Of course, they would never allow such things here. So, yeah, there we go. It's alright, isn't it? It's right pretty round here. That's completely the wrong accent, but it is quite nice. But I'm going down quite a steep hill, and I'm very glad there is a fair degree of engine braking, because yeah, these brakes are rubbish. Jono, sort them out. I don't care if it is free. He doesn't care. He's getting quite posh these days. He used to be a 2CV, you know, but these days he seems obsessed with Citroen ZXs. Anyway, that has been a short, entertaining drive in a Citroen C15, or C15, if you speak perfect French like what I does. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe before you go. Don't forget about the Hut Nut merchandise and all the goodies and everything. And I shall see you in a future video. Farewell. Cold start of a C15. Oh, flagtastic. Look at that for a pair of stunners.